Good day to the people of the territory and staff. As it relates to the legislation in regards to giving accolades to NCSL, I personally don't have an issue with that. I fully understand the role that they play in educating legislatures throughout the United States, and as a benefactor of that, I fully understand what we're attempting to do. So thank you for that piece of legislation. I don't have an issue with it. As it relates to this piece of legislation, 360090, I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place when it comes to this legislation because I kind of see it from two different perspectives. And the question I want to ask you, the Office of Gun Violence, is there anything currently that would have stopped you from within that office setting aside and saying you wanted to do a specific week? Or is this more along the lines of trying to tie nationally in regards to the day? Because I did look and there's no National Gun Violence Week. There's days throughout the states. So I'm trying to understand, why are we opting to potentially go towards a week versus the day, as well as I also wanted to understand what was stopping your office from potentially utilizing a week in doing it.
In my opening statement, I said that the Office of Gun Violence Prevention doesn't wait for a week or a month or a day. We have things going on all year long. I think the intent of the bill is to unify a lot of different organizations at one time, and I think what happens is sometimes people need some impetus for something. We have, Police Week and National Police Day, which talks about memorializing police officers. We have, Memorial Day for military people, and then so it sort of infuses folks to say, okay, this is a time that we could do something special. So
okay.
I see it as a way to sort of ignite energy at one particular time, but not necessarily saying we're going to wait for that week to do it.
Well, Congress just did a resolution 2 weeks ago to do Gun Violence Awareness Month. So the whole month of June, through their resolutions, the House and the Senate just passed it, that the whole month of June is now going to be recognized as...
But that's been since 2015.
Yeah, but I'm saying they officially did it through Congress this month.
Okay.
So I'm worried also from the financial aspect of it, because I know the office already has a budget. What is the financial impact of us focusing on an additional, like a specific week? Or would those funds, those activities be now absorbed by your office? Or is that an additional set of funding we have to come up with?
I don't think it's going to be any funding additional from the Senate. Those are events that we have, like I said, all the time. And if there's going to be a major expense, if I decide next year during that week I'll have a conference here, then that may...
That's what I'm talking about, because we're potentially now going to establish this in law, and it potentially might now become an additional financial week that we might have to come up with. And don't get me wrong, I fully understand what the office is doing, and I support the Office of Gun Violence. But, could I quickly wrap up?
Yes, go ahead.
I often see things from two different perspectives, because as a survivor of having a family member die of gun violence, I'm starting to feel like I'm being inundated with, this is almost a celebration, because we got the month, we got the day, we're now adding a week. And at what point do we have the Office of Unsolved Murders? At what point do we have the Office of Gun Violence Survivors? At what point do we have the Office of actually figuring out how to stop these things? Because we're in here consistently putting in the books, Office of Gun Violence Week, Office of this, Office of that, but we are not solving the murders here in the territory. And when you have somebody like me sitting in this chair, who brother got a bullet in his head, and for years nobody can explain to me how this happened, But I'm supposed to sit here and say, hey, let's add a whole nother week. When are we going to start solving it? And I think that's what you guys start to forget people like us exist in this territory. We're here. We're the ones left behind. And I appreciate what's happening, but you can't forget the people that are left behind. And it's starting to sound like we are pushing so hard to make sure that we're aware of gun violence. You don't think I'm aware of it? Every activity you guys do, I'm triggered. Every gunshot that rings out, I'm triggered. This entire weekend, I was triggered. Because I was the person that had to walk in and see my brother on the floor with a bullet in his head. But nobody is telling me how these things are getting solved. But we keep celebrating these things. I care about all of those parents that have to spend their lifetime not knowing. We have hundreds of unsolved murders in this territory, hundreds of them. I didn't say one, I didn't say two, I said hundreds. How do we solve that? And that is what is bothering me. Yeah, we could create another bill. Yeah, another week. Let's recognize gun violence. Who's recognizing me? Who's recognizing that mother? Who's recognizing all these things that are left behind? You don't think I'd be happy to know who killed my brother so I could have a peace of mind at night? That'll be happy for me. I don't know nothing. Can you imagine how many people are living in this territory like that? But we still want them to smile. We still want them to give good customer service. We're worried about children raising themselves at home. Why? Because their parents have to work multiple jobs. That's probably the reason. Let's be real. But I'm not directing this at you. Don't take me. But it's a lot of frustration here at this point, because I'm actually looking for things to be done, not creating fluff things to make people feel good, and there's no ultimate resolution to all the major problems we have here. So I appreciate the additional time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
It's hard to always find the words to help somebody, soothe their pain. And I hear the frustration in your voice, and I'm sorry that you don't have closure with the loss of your brother. Investigating crimes here is challenging sometimes and difficult. I'm not making excuses for the police department. I don't speak for the police department, but as a police officer, I understand and know those challenges that occur in investigations. And I know for families that it is difficult and frustrating when you can't bring closure. I don't think the week is a week of celebration. The week is a week to acknowledge those families that are in pain, and so and people choose to attend those things or not, and I respect the fact that those things trigger you. People ask me to attend funerals. I don't want to go to funerals because it triggers me. I'm in this work because people that were close to me were killed in the street, were killed here. Young men that I mentored were killed here. It's not as close as a brother, but that pain is still pain for me, and I still get triggered. So I understand what you're saying. I don't have the magic bullet or the panacea to say it's going to be solved yesterday or tomorrow. I know agencies across the country work to have a cold case squad to try to find new evidence, to try to see what's going on, and I believe VIPD has one. So, like I said, I can't speak for the department, but I know that there is work being done, and all we can do is try to acknowledge those families. When you talk about that you're not being noticed, that you're not being seen, that week would give us an opportunity to do that in addition to what we normally do. Senator Joseph has been to one of our vigils. He understands how we help people, or how we try to help people the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Point of information, Senator Bulkers.
My colleagues, good day to the testifiers, good day to the people of the territory and staff. I offer 36-0066, an act amending Title 29, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 15, adding a Section 928A, providing for all officials and employees of the Virgin Islands Public Finance Authority and its wholly owned subsidiaries must be members of the Government Employees Retirement System of the Virgin Islands. This piece of legislation is offered because, as you know, there have been several conversations over the years as to whether or not we are in need of having additional people in our retirement system. We've had conversations as to even whether we could merge with some private sector, but at the end of the day, we have government employees that could potentially now be added to our GRS system to potentially aid in whatever we need at this time. And as I was looking throughout the government to see what possibilities that people could be shifted over to our GRS system, the PFA was one of those entities. I know there has been questions over the years as to whether they're considered private or public, but based on our court system, which has clearly stated on multiple occasions that the employees are public sector employees. So with that being said, I saw this as an opportunity for those employees, not only for just new ones coming in, but also for those that are in existence. I wanted to share that I did submit an amendment for this legislation a few weeks back. I thought I might have had it today, but that amendment basically states to clarify that, because how we read the legislation, we wanted to clarify that this is for new incoming individuals, but also I wanted to give the current employees an option whether to opt in or out or not, because I also recognize that if someone has been nurturing their retirement over the years to potentially be abruptly having to shift, we should give them that option if they choose to do so, because some might wish to come over depending on how long they've been vested in the system, and some might say, hey, I've been here long enough, I'll stick to what I have. So that amendment that's going to be coming forth, I'm not sure if I'll get it before this meeting is out, but that particular amendment will give the individuals that are there currently the option to opt in or out, and this law will be henceforth for any new incoming employees that are coming into the system. So I just wanted to clarify that part, because I know I've always been one open and willing to have conversations and listen to ideas, and these things are documents when they come to the floor, but by the time we go through the committee process, sometimes there are amendments that we do add and the entire documentation might be improved, or sometimes we've overdone it and we might end up taking out certain things. So I welcome any testimony here today to see how we could potentially improve this piece of legislation. But I think it's in the best interest of our government to make sure that enough and more people have an option to participate in our government retirement system as possible. So I look forward to the dialogue, and thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Frances Heiliger. We're going to go to the testifiers.
VINGN. Do you consider, VINGN, do you consider yourself a private or public entity? And to PFA, since WICO is not here, do you consider WICO a public or private entity? Thank you.
I defer to Stephen Adams, President and CEO.
VINGN considers itself by its board to be a public-private corporation. We're owned by PFA, so we have one shareholder. Yet we have an independent board of directors, for which I am also a board member, that deals with its operations. So we function as a private corporation that has one shareholder, which is the Public Finance Authority.
So you consider yourself private?
Yes.
Thank you.
We do.
Could you share with me, Mr.
Good day, Senator. Our testimony clearly states that we consider both WICO and VINGN to be public corporations.
Thank you so much.
You should have been. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask one question. So, and just make a statement. I know we do not have the document here because a lot of the argument that I'm hearing is kind of moot based on me sharing what my amendment says. My amendment is going to be for employees coming in the future. And also, we are going to give an option for those that are vested, usually that's 10 years or more, to have the option if they would like to become part of GRS or not. It is ultimately their choice. If all of them choose not to, they just don't do it. But we as legislators have to start making laws to create a shift for the future. We are not making laws to impact or go after those here, but we're making laws to improve and fix our government as we go along. So I just wanted to put that on the record so you guys could understand that. Thank you. And to my colleagues, good afternoon to the testifiers, good afternoon to the people of the territory and staff. PFA, Mr. Simmons, how many subsidiaries total, and this is for the record, does PFA have?
Subsidiaries would be 4.
4. So this bill is not technically limited to just WICO and VINGN. The bill says all subsidiaries. Is that correct?
The bill does say that.
Okay.
However, as I indicated, the other subsidiaries do not have employees or officials.
And when as senators we draft legislation, I'm going to put this on the record. I do not draft legislation to target individual people, individual organizations. I make decisions overall because I'm looking at the future of our government and what is in the best interest of the people of this territory. That is it. So whether you guys get more subsidiaries in the future, this law will apply to them and the employees of such. So I'm not thinking me, because I'm hearing a whole lot of me here today. And every single time I hear that, I'm concerned about what people are not looking at the big picture. As a senator, I pay 15% every single pay period out of my paycheck. So when I'm hearing 3% and people having a meltdown, I am like, oh my. Well, what happened to me who'd have paid 15? I'm not complaining. So let's look at this in perspective. One of the unique things about me that a lot of people, whether they choose to realize it or not, I've been an employee in this building since 1999. I'm one of the few employees that transitioned over to become a senator. So I have a very long history of this building. And what exactly transpired? I was in this building when VINGN was created. I distinctly remember what it was for. And what I'm hearing here is not what VINGN was created for. At all. We got a grant because we were at the bottom of the totem pole when it came to all the territories and states when it came to getting internet and broadband. I think we were number 54 on the list. That was the initial purpose of the money. And then our government took out a loan to do matching funds to build VINGN. I remember when VINGN came on this floor, if y'all saw the original bill, y'all would have been frightened. They literally was trying to build a government within a government with that original bill. I mean, to the point they wanted their own land, their own housing community. They wanted to set up laundromat, grocery store, literally build a little mini government. I remember the document, and that became a contention, and it was all stripped out. So when people want to talk about profitability, VINGN was never created for profitability. That was not the purpose. I mean, this is where we're headed now. But I have a very good memory. But what my concern is, for those of you that are concerned that we are doing this to target employees, that is not the case.
1 minute.
I have to be a responsible government official. I have to be a responsible representative and look at things and make decisions across the board for the betterment. That's it. Now, as it relates to my amendments, I just called my staff and asked them what date did I submit those amendments. They said I sent them in since mid-16th. So I wasn't even privy to y'all testimony. These things, I do a lot of research. I talk to people. I knew what was going on. So I said, well, okay, let's make amendments. Now, I kind of wish they were here today, but I'm kind of happy with the discussion we're having. So then if we had any more, I could just add to it and call it a day. Now, Mr. Simmons, your biggest contention is the authority shall contribute to the government of the Virgin Islands retirement system. And that's your part in regards to you guys having to pay. Now, part of the reason it was written that way, could I just wrap up? Part of the reason it was written that way is because you guys are the parent holder and everybody else is a subsidiary as PFA is the parent. Now, if you guys get more subsidiaries in the future, we were thinking that it would be one centralized location, whether the funding go through you guys and one payment to the GRS system. Because if PFA in the future add on 5-6 more people, 5-6 more entities, that's 5-6 more entities have to set up to go through to GRS. So that was the initial thought process. But if you are suggesting that individual subsidiaries should be responsible to submit their payment on their own, that doesn't bother me either way. That's a simple amendment to just do that. So you could erase that stress off of your head if that was your major concern.
It is.
Well, consider it fixed.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome. But I don't want the narrative going out here that we are targeting agencies. I don't want that narrative to go out and leave the Senate floor. And to the employees of the current, whether it's GRS, whether it's VINGN, whether it's WICO, whether it's any semi-autonomous agency, we all do our part. We all do our part. And yes, I understand you are trying to, Mr. Adams, your goal is to protect VINGN. Do that to the best of your ability. I don't have an issue with it. But I also want to make note that we talked a little bit earlier about UVI and how they're set up. But you have to understand UVI there's a reason why UVI has a dual system. There's a very important reason. That's why you have a bunch of the regular employees are in GRS. But the other part is that a lot of the professors work from multiple entities, so they're not technically sole employees of UVI. So that's why they had the additional setup. So it's not anything far-fetched we're doing here today. We are making decisions for the future of this territory. We're not targeting individuals. So I just want to make that clear, and I hope my colleagues fully understand that whether it might be 10 people in one agency, tomorrow is 24, it all adds up. It all adds up. Because if tomorrow we end up with 100 subsidiaries and each one of them having 10 people, that's 100 people to go to GRS. We have to stop looking at it as me and look at it as we, the government and the people of this territory. So I'm asking my colleagues, I will be making those amendments, and I am asking for your support today so we could move this legislation forward and we could do something to benefit not only the GRS system, but also our employees so they could have an option to a much better system as opposed to some of the systems that they're currently involved in. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Francis Heiliger. Colleagues, that I think exhaust Block 2, and I'm going to take a 10-minute recess before we take action on the bills before us. The committee.
I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the testifiers for coming and sharing their thoughts today, as well as thank you to my colleagues for their support of this legislation. The amendments that we were bringing forth, as well as the ones that were spoken about today, we will definitely have those and update the bill. And hopefully during the next government operations meeting, you will hear about the definite improvements to this piece of legislation. As the gentleman just said, his concern about government participating and helping with contributions, at the end of the day, we all have to play our part and do our role as it comes to making sure that not only our government is solvent, but also our retirement system, which is 25% of the gross domestic product here in the territory. So whatever we have to do to make sure that this happens, as a representative and as a senator, I will do my part to make sure that is done. So thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for the time, and thanks again to my colleagues as well as the testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Again, thank you, testifiers.